Ellen DeGeneres, you are being called to the court of public opinion. You are formally being charged with multiple incidents, to include being kind in public but degenerous behind closed doors, employing a team underneath you that promotes a toxic and hostile work environment, discrimination, racism. I don't know, Ellen. Let's debrief. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. You are tuned into the Debrief with your girl, me, Nova. Welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, then you already know the vibes. And if you are a new subscriber or you're just visiting my channel, I'm hopeful you'll join the family, so welcome. So I'll get right in. What are we discussing today? Ellen DeGeneres, okay? She has found herself in the hot seat in social media, and we are going to break down what's going on. I'll give my thoughts, my opinions. You guys tell me what you think. Leave some comments down below, and let's just get right on into it, okay? So, Ellen DeGeneres. Who is she? Well, she is the host of her self-entitled daytime TV show, Ellen DeGeneres. She is a fave in Hollywood and amongst many, okay? Now, her show's been running for quite some time. I think she started the Ellen DeGeneres show in 2003, and it has ran ever since. I mean, she's known for being funny and caring and giving back to the community in different ways. Now, with that being said, claims have started to come out on the production underneath Ellen, right? The team, the executives that run the Ellen show behind the scenes, okay? So claims of a hostile work environment, toxic work environment, discrimination, racism, among others, okay? And claims that Ellen is not so kind in public. She's rather degenerous, okay? So a little background on Ellen, okay? Ellen got her start in comedy in the 80s, okay? So she did stand-up comedy. And from there, she went on to appear in different films and movies. But she really got her start into fame on her self-entitled sitcom back in the late 1990s. Well, I think 1993 to around 1998. So she starred in the self-entitled show Ellen, okay? And I remember this show. I was a little girl, but my mom used to watch this show, so I know all about the Ellen show. Okay, now, around 1997, and I do recall bits and pieces from this particular show that aired, Ellen actually came out on the show as being gay. But she also came out in real life to the public about being a lesbian. She sat down with Diane Sawyer, and she talked about, being scared and nervous to come out as being a lesbian in the entertainment industry and how that would hurt her career. Well, after that show aired in 1997, NBC announced a year later in 98 that it would be the last run of the Ellen show. Okay. Now, from behind scenes, Ellen actually was having some challenges with the NBC executives. Okay. Because, the content of the shows focused on gay topics, right? And the executives felt that they needed to start putting a warning advisory for the viewers, and Ellen objected to this, right? Because at that time, there were many sitcoms on that focused on heterosexual relationships. And there was no warning advisory to the viewers for those types of shows. So why should that be the case for her show? So she pushed back on that. She had some challenges. The executives felt that, hey, we're focusing way too much on topics as it relates to being gay. I mean, there was just some friction. Okay. So Ellen had actually intended to quit the show. But, before we know it, the show was canceled and bam. Okay. Now, from there in 2001 to roughly 2002, Ellen went on to do the Ellen Show. Okay. And that lasted and ran for about a year. And then after that is when she started her now infamous talk show, Ellen DeGeneres. Now, why did I give you the background on that? When claims started to come forward about, things that are going on behind scenes and how Ellen is in real life, I really thought, no, that can't be right. I mean, from everything that Ellen has experienced, especially in the industry and with her being gay, you think to yourself, there's no way Ellen could be like that. But I will say, after I started looking into this, I mean, things are questionable, okay? Now, I don't know if it's enough to get her canceled, but we'll talk about that. All right, so where do we start? Where did this all begin about everything coming to a head? Now, I want to say, first and foremost, earlier in January around this year, for those of you who watch Ellen's show, you may have recalled a guest appearance by a woman named Nikki Tutorials. So if you don't know who Nikki Tutorials is, she is a transgender makeup guru in the YouTube world. I mean, pretty girl does a great job on makeup. I've definitely watched a few of her videos and have, got some tips from her. Now, backstory on Nikki. From the time that she started up until last year, no one knew that Nikki was transgender. We all thought she was a female, right? No problem. Well, Nikki faced some controversy because she was being blackballed, okay? And someone that she was working with was going to out her, okay? So she decided to get in front of the story and come out to the world as being transgender. So that's her background. So nonetheless, she ends up on the Ellen Show to talk about this, right? And from the viewer standpoint, I mean, it seems to be a great show. I mean, Nikki did her thing. The Ellen Show supported her by ensuring that they turned off the comment sections on the YouTube platforms or the platforms that they aired the show, just so that there wouldn't be any negative feedback from Nikki's interview. Okay. Now, as time goes on, Nikki does another interview with a Dutch show, and she actually exposes her experience that she had while appearing on the Ellen Show. Okay. So she made claims that, Ellen is not who she says she is to the public. In person, she's very cold. She's very distant. She felt that while she was there, she wasn't treated the same, or she wasn't treated as a VIP guest. Now, she goes on to say, she didn't have the luxury of having her own private bathroom. I think at that time, the Jonas Brothers were also on the show, and they got their own bathroom. And there were some other things that went on. But for the most part, what I took away from that is the coldness and how distant Ellen is behind closed doors. Okay. Now, that kind of made some rumble in January of 2020. It caught attention, but not like it's catching attention now. So, after that, in March, April timeframe, there is a podcaster by the name of, Kevin T. Porter. Okay. So in March of 2020, Kevin posts a tweet on Twitter saying, hey, he referenced Ellen, and if anyone has had some type of negative experience or encounter with Ellen, go ahead and subtweet your story. Now, for every story that I come across, I will donate $2 to like the LA food charity. I think it was the LA food charity. And he would donate $2 for every story that came up, right? And one that was believable. Now, when Kevin posted this, the response that he got, and I'll post what his tweet is here, so you can take a look as I'm going through this. Well, he received over 2,500 tweets about experiences and encounters with Ellen DeGeneres, okay? Now, granted, some of those tweets that I read were like, they sounded absolutely bogus. But some of those tweets, and I'll let you take a look at it here. Okay, so you've seen a couple of those tweets. Some of those tweets had some similarities in terms of encounters with Ellen and how she seems to be a little bit of a mean girl, okay? So Kevin ends up following up to his tweet and posts, the status of where he was at in terms of the stories that he read through and how much he's at now in terms of donating to the charity. And he was at $600. So there was a lot of stories that came through. Now, when the post sat down with Kevin and asked him, why did you make that tweet? His response is, the stars, and he means Ellen, doesn't really have a nice attitude. And it's an open secret that in Hollywood, okay, the tea is Ellen is not so nice of a person, okay? All right. So I think that's when things started to really come on the scene in terms of awareness about Ellen, okay? Now, shortly after that, in April 2020, okay, reports had came out that employees were very distressed and outraged by top-level producers of the Ellen Show for lack of communication at the height of the pandemic. Okay, so as you know, back in that time frame, the pandemic was like rampant. Okay, so that caused a lot of issues with jobs and going into the office to work and what's going to happen to my job. So apparently, okay, let's read here. Ellen has a stage crew that consists of about 30 employees, okay? At that time, they had received no communication about the status of their working hours, their compensation, their pay. No one had communicated to them about, what's going to happen with the show, okay? Because as you know, there was, mandatory lockdowns and no one could, come out of their homes. And with that, the Ellen Show got put on hold, right? Well, things really blew up because the crew ended up finding out that Ellen hired like a third-party, non-union type of contractor to assist her with setting up her show remotely from her home. And the employees knew nothing about it. They didn't find out about it until other people started sending them clips from social media. So they, in essence, found out, that Ellen was going on to continue to record her show remotely out of her house, and no one had informed them about, what was going on, okay? Now, of course, there was a lot of back and forth with that. Long story short, that was the first uproar into what was taking place behind scenes with production. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, next thing that happened in May, okay, of 2020, honey, Ellen's former bodyguard, okay, came forward and accounted for his negative experience that he had with Ellen on the 2014 Oscars. Okay, so Ellen was the host of the Oscars that year. He was the bodyguard, and he came out about his negative experience with Ellen. Now, I read this and I'm like, I had to give it the side eye, but basically he came out to say, hey, you know, I was hired on to protect Ellen and solely Ellen. Well, Ellen had her family, her mother, you know, her wife at the time, her wife with her. And, you know, I protected everyone, and I didn't so much as get a thank you. Ellen paid me no attention the entire night. And, you know, he just comes out, he speaks about it. She didn't even say hello. All right. Now, I am going to stop right there first. In the first charge, we had Ellen being charged with being kind in public, but DeGeneres behind closed doors. Now, before I go on to the other accounts in terms of the allegations against the crew, because I do find that that's a little bit separate, and I'll get to that in a moment. Let's focus on Ellen and her mean girl persona behind closed doors. Now, there have been various support from Kevin Hart. Tyrese has come out to support her. Who else came out to support Ellen? Katy Perry came out to support Ellen. I'll leave, what they said here as I'm talking and going through it. Now, in this first offense, being kind in public, DeGeneres behind closed doors, I will be honest. I believe that Ellen probably may be an asshole behind closed doors, but I don't think it's enough to cancel Ellen. I mean, let's just be honest. We have a president who is a complete asshole in public, and we did everything we could to get his behind out and, veto him, but to no avail. And people still love and support that fool. Here's my thing. These stars coming out and supporting Ellen, it's kind of like, of course you've had nothing but good experiences with Ellen, because you are of the same stature in terms of the fame, in terms of the financial status. You are of the elite per se, so I'm sure your experiences with Ellen are pleasant. I have no doubts. But the claims that I've been seeing are from your everyday persons, okay? The persons that are not in the limelight, the persons that are your average everyday workers, okay? Now, in terms of the little tweet that I saw with regard to Ellen, being displeased with the girl's nail polish and calling and telling her boss and almost getting her fired. I mean, that's interesting. So I do believe that Ellen has a little bit of a mean girl, cold-hearted type of character to those that may be, in her eyes, beneath her. But do I think it's enough to cancel her? No, because honestly, people are like that. And again, we have some entertainers in this industry that are complete assholes in front of the camera, and we don't cancel them. So for that particular charge, although I find that we do have evidence to support the charge, I just don't think there's enough substantial evidence to cancel Ellen. All right, so for that, I'm going to dismiss that charge. Okay, now let's get into the next charge. Okay, let's talk about Ellen's team, the producers, and in employing a hostile work environment Discrimination, racism, let's get into it. Okay, so in an article from the BuzzFeed, it talks about more recently employees or former employees that have come out and have stated their challenges behind the scenes and working for production. Okay, so let's take a moment. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys, and I am going to read some of the statements that former employees have made, and then we'll come back, we'll dissect, and we'll get into it. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at some of the comments reported on the BuzzFeed. Okay, so after working on the Ellen DeGeneres show for nearly a year, one former employee said they took medical leave for 1 month to check into a mental health facility for a suicide attempt. But the week they returned to work, they were told their position was being eliminated. The person goes on to say, you'd think that if someone just tried to kill themselves, you don't want to add any more stress to their lives. The employee, whose story was corroborated by 4 other employees and medical records, told the BuzzFeed News. Okay. Some of the producers talk openly in public about addiction and mental health awareness, but their reason there's a stigma. They said they definitely don't practice what they preach with the Be Kind mantra. Now, another former employee said that they were fired after unexpectedly a difficult year that required them to take time away from the job on 3 occasions: medical leave for 3 weeks after they were in a car accident, working remotely for 2 days to attend a family member's funeral, and then 3 days off to travel for another family member's funeral. Each request was a battle with supervisors and HR, they added. That's the definition of a toxic work environment, where they make you feel like you're going insane, and then you're like, no, everything I was feeling was right. It was leading up to this, the former staffer, whose story was corroborated by 5 former employees and medical records, said. All right, we read the first 2 accounts from former employees. What are our thoughts on this? Okay. Now, here's my thing. Yes, that was an unfortunate situation, no doubts. But when I read it, I'm like, well, welcome to the workforce. Welcome to corporate America. You missed too many days, honey. Whether it be for medical, this, that, and the third. The company, listen, we need you here for work. You got too much going on in your personal life. Now, will they fire you because of that? No. But can they fire you when another situation comes up that's justifiable for that termination? Absolutely. Now, I understand, mental health is real. And, welcome to, we believe in mental health awareness, and we need our we support our employees when they go through this challenging time, and so forth and so forth. And then you go out on FMLA, right? And that employee went out on medical leave, and by FMLA, your job is protected. They can't, let you go unless there's a justifiable reason behind that. But most companies won't touch that. Okay, so you're on FMLA, you come back, and the next thing you know, your position is being eliminated, right? It's being reduced. And in the back of your mind, it was probably because of my leave. It's not right. But do companies do that? They do that all the time. When I read this, I'm like, well, that's nothing new. It's unfortunate. Don't get me wrong. It is very unfortunate, but it's definitely not out the norm. I should know. I work in HR. Okay? All right. Now, the other employee who talked about having a difficult year, okay, time away on 3 different occasions, medical leave for 3 weeks. Okay, so out of 1 month, you missed 3 weeks of work. Okay. And then, you had to work remotely for 2 days to attend a funeral. Understood. And then 3 days to travel for another funeral. Okay. So you missed basically roughly around a month of work for your situations. Now, absolutely, I feel you shouldn't have any challenges with being able to attend to personal matters, and companies need to be flexible in that. However, when you are in a demanding type of work environment, one that maybe is not so flexible, being present at work is like a must. And again, I'm not saying that this is right, but if you have some things going on where you're not able to be present and do your job at work, sometimes, from a management standpoint, I need someone that can be here. It's tough. It's a demanding environment. Flexibility may not just be an option on the Ellen Show. Okay. They may not have a flexible work-life balance at that show. Nonetheless, when I read that too, I said, well, is it bad business? Absolutely. But does that kind of thing happen all the time? Yeah. I'm looking at this feedback, and I'm just like, it's a shame, but it's definitely not unheard of. All right, let's go on to what another former employee said, shall we? Okay. A third former employee said they were given a warning for creating a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for medical costs that weren't covered by their company's health insurance and then sharing it on social media. Just 24 hours after posting the GoFundMe, they said they were called into the department's head's office and told to take it down because of concerns it might hurt DeGeneres' image. They discovered my fundraiser, then got mad at me. They were more concerned about Ellen's brand instead of helping me out, the former employee, whose story was corroborated by 4 other employees, told BuzzFeed News. About 1 month later, this employee said they were fired after posting a selfie, laughing with co-workers at the office on a personal Instagram story, a violation of their contract, even though others had posted similar photos before. Be kind to the world, they said, not your employees. All right. I got some thoughts on this one, you guys. Seriously, I got some thoughts. First and foremost, listen, I understand that that's messed up. I don't want my words to be taken like, oh, it's a bunch of bull. No, it's not. It's not what I'm saying. However, there is a thing in the workforce where whatever you do on the outside of work, okay, you still have to go about your personal life and representation of the company that does not, tarnish or jeopardize the company's brand in the industry, right? And a company can say what you're doing in your personal time doesn't look good on the company's brand, because when you're out in public, you're a reflection of the company. Don't act like when you were growing up, your parents used to get on you, hey, what you do out in them streets, you better be on your best behavior because you are a representation of me and your father. It's no different. So with the GoFundMe campaign, if she would have posted the GoFundMe, hey, need help on paying my medical bills or whatever, I think if she left it as that, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. But adding the additional, medical costs that are not covered by my company's health insurance, it does kind of have, one can look at it in a negative light in terms of, well, dang, you work for the Ellen Show and they can't, what kind of insurance benefits are they paying y'all that they can't cover your medical bills? I mean, it doesn't look good on the brand of Ellen. So for me, That's normal. Yeah, hey, listen, what you posted, hey, fine, but you kind of, when you made mention to, covering your medical bills that your company's insurance doesn't cover, I mean, that doesn't look good on the brand. Can you take that down? I think at that point, she may have ruffled some feathers, honey. Okay, now as it goes on, a month later, she was fired for posting a selfie on laughing with her coworkers on her Instagram story. If it's covered in your contract that doing something of that nature is violation and grounds for termination, I don't even know why we're having this conversation right now. Let's just call a spade, honey. This whole, even though others have posted similar photos before, girl, like your mom used to tell you when you was a child, if your friends jumped off the bridge, are you jumping off too? I mean, come on. I'm not saying it's right, people. I'm not saying it's right, but we talking about you right now. We ain't talking about them. I don't know, y'all. I mean, all right. When it comes to the toxic work environment, I believe that, things were definitely high paced, high stressed, those accounts for taking leave and so forth. I feel like, in some ways it could have been handled better, but in other ways, from a business standpoint, I mean, this type of stuff goes on all the time. So I'm not really, I don't know. I don't know if it's a hostile work environment more so than just a very frustrating, demanding, stressful work environment that honestly is something that we hear about all the time on our jobs, right? So I don't know. All right, honey. Now let's get into the crux, the one that I think holds some weight, okay? So in the BuzzFeed news, all right, a Black woman who used to work on the Ellen DeGeneres show told BuzzFeed News she experienced racist comments, actions, and microaggressions during her year and a half as an employee. She said when she was hired, a senior level producer told her and another Black employee, "Oh wow, you both have box braids. I hope we don't get you confused." And at a work party, she said, one of the main writers told her, "I'm sorry, I only know the names of the white people who work here." And other co-workers awkwardly laughed it off instead of coming to her defense. When the former employee brought up issues of race and representation on the show and asked producers not to use offensive terms like spirit animal in segments, her colleagues called her the PC police. When she started to speak up about the discrimination, she said all of her colleagues distanced themselves from her. Whenever I brought up an issue to my white male boss, he would bring up some random story about some random Black friend that he had and how they managed to get over stuff, she said. He would use his Black friend as some way to say, "I understand your struggle," but it was all performative bullshit. After 1 year at Ellen, she said, she asked for a raise after learning another recent hire made double for doing the same job, despite her having worked in the television industry for a decade. Her manager told her they'd see what they could do, but months went by and nothing happened, she said. The former employee said she was also called into a meeting with executive producer Ed Glavin, where she was reprimanded for her objections to the term spirit animal, asking for a raise and suggesting employees on the show receive diversity and inclusion training. He said that I was walking around looking resentful and angry. After the meeting, she left work for the day and never returned to the Ellen DeGeneres show. She said she has no plans to ever work in the entertainment industry again. For years, she felt a fear of speaking out, but is now inspired to share her experience because of the recent conversations about race in Hollywood and other workplaces. I feel like I'm not alone in this, she said. We all feel this. We've been feeling this way, but I've been too afraid to say anything because everyone knows what happens when you say something as a Black person. You're blacklisted. Okay. Then it goes on to say the former employee also said her manager from Ellen recently reached out to her amid the Black Lives Matter protests to apologize for not being a better ally. But the former employee said it's too little, too late. What do we think about that one, you guys? Now, I do find in favor of the charge of discrimination and racism. So many things here, so many things. But the saddest thing about it is it happens all the time in the workplace. And it's really unfortunate. Now, my thing is homegirl left and decided to never work in the entertainment industry again. That is her right. But honey, I would have put me a lawsuit in so that not only am I not going to work in the industry again, I'm going to sit home, okay, and enjoy my settlement. I'm just saying. Okay, so you guys have heard that one. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking here? Should we cancel Ellen? Now, if you do not know, Ellen has released this long statement basically taking full accountability for the alleged coming out statements from, the former employees, okay? Now, while she herself has not said she apologized for any action she took, right? She owned the actions of her production team. I believe one or two of the producers have since been fired, but seeing as how her production team in essence is her brand, she takes full responsibility. So let me put that out there. She did come out with this, tearful, long statement. But what do we think, guys? Do we really think that this is enough to cancel Ellen? I want to know. What are your thoughts? I feel that what Ellen did wrong was she kind of separated herself because, she's busy. She has a lot of things going on. So for her, she entrusted her team to employ and have a healthy, work environment for the interns, the employees, and that didn't happen. What do we think about it being Ellen's job to ensure that that's in place, seeing as how, how much she has on her plate, right? If we think about it from a CEO level, the CEO may not know what's going on in the regions, and the CEO expects the region's heads or executive leadership team to handle and facilitate issues that have been raised in Ellen's case, right? So I don't know. I feel that this is a learning lesson for Ellen to ensure that she's checking in with her team. I think the other thing that is disheartening is, Ellen herself can be a little bit of a mean girl or cold or distant. So I don't see, the employees having the opportunity to sit and talk to Ellen or, submit, suggestions like the open box thing where there's a box and you just put your thoughts into this box and someone comes along and reads and it's kept anonymous. I don't think Ellen has any rapport with the persons underneath her executive producers. And for that, I think that's a shame. I think that she needs to really work on that kind mantra behind closed doors for the persons that are in essence working for her and helping her to achieve the greatness that she has on camera. It's unfortunate, but I broke that down, y'all. Y'all tell me what you guys think about it. I mean, are we canceling Ellen? I don't think we're canceling Ellen. There's been a lot of memes about who should replace Ellen. Is Ellen like a Nick Cannon? Like, does she own the rights to the Ellen show? Now, I did read that she had came out and said she didn't know if she wanted to keep the show going, but she did sign another contract up and through 2021. I do know that she said that she's coming back on air. I think that's going to start up late August. But what are we thinking? I mean, are we canceling Ellen? I mean, I don't know. I think her stake is too deep in the entertainment industry. She has too many entertainment friends that are, you know, her allies and coming to her defense. I don't think we can cancel someone for being an asshole behind closed doors. I think a lot of stars probably in the entertainment industry are assholes behind closed doors, especially to those who are not on the same stature as they are. I don't know. I think she's taken the right steps to, you know, get rid of the loose strings, right? The producers, let's get them out of here. But other than that, I don't Ellen ain't being canceled, okay, y'all? She ain't gonna be canceled. I think it's unfortunate what happened with those former employees. But nonetheless, when I read all of this, I said, this is normal work shit. You guys, this stuff goes on in the workforce every single day. Okay, now that we see it happening in entertainment, everyone's like, oh, wow, I can't believe it's happening. Oh, Ellen, this. Man, everything I read, I done heard it, seen it multiple times. So, I don't know, you guys. Anywho, you guys tell me what you think in the comments down below. Before I go, thank you for the support and love you guys are showing me. I appreciate it. I'm seeing you guys, you know, taking a look at my videos. I need you guys to hit that like button. That like button will help get more exposure onto the YouTube streets. And I need you guys to subscribe. Just subscribe. You may not always want to watch my videos, but you can at least support me and subscribe to my channel. Other than that, you guys, I will catch you on the next video. Bye.